This podcast is a part of the PodMania podcasting network. Check out podmania.co.uk to check out more of our great podcasts, features, reviews, match ratings and previews spanning the crazy and diverse world of professional wrestling. Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of the Young Lion Cast, your fortnightly audio source of all things New Japan Pro Wrestling right here on the PodMania podcasting network. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I'm joined, as ever, by Chris O'Brien. How are you, Chris?
I have some corned beef stuck in my teeth, Rob.
Is there anything else worse in the world than corned beef in the teeth?
Yeah, an apple, like a bit of apple skin, because it takes forever to get out.
Oh, strawberry pips.
Oh, mate. They're the worst, aren't they?
Just the worst. Oh, God. Is that worse, though, than paper cuts?
Fun fact, I got a paper cut when I was in primary 6. This isn't the whole story. It's not like the paper cut didn't traumatize me.
I haven't been able to touch paper since.
I went up to the teacher and going, Miss, I have a paper cut. And she was like, oh yeah, they're the worst because they hurt. I'm like, mate, I've been cut. Like, don't get me wrong, at this stage, because of knowing how blading works, I'm a pretty decent expert on cuts. And, yeah, I can clarify that most cuts Actually, do you ever cut yourself and not realise how you've done it?
All the time, mate. All the time.
It's weird, isn't it? Because you look down and go, oh, I am bleeding horribly. What the fuck is going on?
And paper cuts never just bleed. They piss blood as well, which is always worse.
It is always the worst, isn't it?
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we got ever so slightly sidetracked, as is per when we open these podcasts. We have got a special bonus podcast. Oh, you lucky people. Because we were so late uploading our New Beginning in Osaka podcast because I was severely under the weather. So we have got a wrestling classic episode for you. The podcast basically where we take 3 matches from Japanese wrestling history and we review them for you now because I am a relative noob and Chris, in comparison to me, is a relative messiah. Not just because he looks like Jesus. Now, what we've done is today, usually there is some sort of theme or there is some sort of actual cohesion between them. Like, for example, where we just decided we were going to go full Suzuki for an episode and review only Suzuki matches. But here, we don't seem to have a theme. The only thing that really links them is that 2 of them are from Pro Wrestling Noah, which we have never done on this podcast, Chris. Am I right in saying that?
I mean, we briefly discussed it at the start of show, like when the Sumo Hall match show happened a few months ago. We did like briefly discuss at the start because as you see as we go through this podcast, we have very different views on Kaito Kiyomiya.
So we start then with the first match that we are reviewing, and this is from Pro Wrestling Noah from the 2nd of November 2019, the Noah the Best 2019 show, Battle of Aesthetics, and it was the GHC Heavyweight Championship match between Kaito Kiyomiya and Kino. Now, Kino obviously won the N1 victory, the New Japan version, the Noah version of New Japan's G1 Climax show.
They've been doing that a lot recently, haven't they? Like, for example, the new GHC Championship is a pretty belt, but it's just the IWGP title.
It's the exact same, yeah, and we've already mentioned this about this tournament, but it's the whole, can I copy your homework? Yes, just make sure it's not identical.
From what I understand, it's different because... Actually, I almost got dumped for plagiarism because I let someone look at my homework in college and they uploaded the same thing. And they were like, how can you prove that you didn't steal from him? I'm like, I uploaded it 2 weeks before he did.
Chris, why did you choose this match?
Well, very quickly, apparently the end one's a bit different. It's like in 4 blocks, like 4 smaller blocks.
Right, okay.
So it was the same with Super Junior, with their junior tag league, actually. Well, not just their junior league, where they have it in like 4 blocks of like, I think it's either 4 or 6,
Okay.
and like mixed block matches from day to day, which I can imagine getting very confusing.
Yes, I can imagine so. At least with 2 blocks, you're fairly sure of where everything is, but trying to keep hold of 4 blocks, good grief.
That's been an issue keeping up with like Stardom's High Speed Grand Prix, where because they're not all block matches on one day, like I can't find anywhere that actually has just the brackets. It's finding it really hard to know who's winning. I just assume it's Azumi because it's basically hers to win. So
Yeah, you assume it's going to be Azumi, don't you?
yeah, but like then again, Def Yama-san's on like 4 points. So
Fuck's sake, Death Yamasa.
I think you secretly like it. Anyway, yeah. The reason I picked this match, Rob, was because I went with Modern Classics, and I was like, okay, I don't actually want to do this match because I like Kaito, you don't like Kaito. This isn't the best example of Kaito. So I was like, okay, but I don't want to put a New Japan Modern Classic in there because we do a lot of Modern Classic New Japan stuff, and I wanted to break the mold. So also, if I put like Suzuki in there, Rob will pick Suzuki. I'm getting sick of Suzuki. Anyway, so I put in Miyahara versus Jake Lee, which is a match both me and Rob really like, with a lot to talk about. It sort of spurred my interest in checking out wrestling outside of New Japan and when it comes to Japan. But then I also thought, okay, that might not be enough. He might want something different. So I put Io Shirai versus Mayu Iwatani because Rob is in love with Mayu Iwatani.
He is indeed.
Yes, and Io Shirai is amazing, and Rob is, I think, is fully aware that he hasn't got to see the best of Io Shirai yet.
That's correct.
I was like, okay, he might want to scratch that curiosity itch. Also, I'm pretty sure in the one I was picking, they kissed at the end. It was weird. So I was like, okay, but this is dead set. He's not going to pick the Noah match. He doesn't like Kaito Kiyomiya. We won't have to have this argument yet. No. Apparently, Rob wants a fight, so we're gonna have one.
So let's delve into this match then. So we start about 3 minutes in. I mean, there was no wasted motion at the start of this match. Straight away, apron DDT, and for a while, Kino just decided he was going to really, really hurt Kiyomiya, and this was sort of epitomised by the pendulum into the guardrail spot, which you loved so much, Chris.
Yeah, because you don't see that, do you?
I must admit, it was a very, very strange spot to see, and then to use him as a battering ram to open the gates of the guardrail I thought was quite inventive, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, and to be also safe because like it's just gonna swing open. Like you see those guardrails will swing open with a gust of wind. But his thing though, but like when I first watched this match, Rob was like, "Oh, the Noah Sumo whole show was really good," and it was a week where like Power Struggle was the week before we were going into Tag League, and I was sort of like, I'm not watching New Japan this month, Rob. It was my condition when we started the Young Lion again, and so I was like, I need some new wrestling, and Rob was like, well, the Sumo Hall match, the Sumo Hall show was good. I'm like, fuck it, I'll watch the Sumo Hall show. It's on YouTube. So I watched it through. Saw Chris Ridgway, great stuff. I forget their names, but like 2 big lads, like in the second or third match, just beat the shit out of each other, and I was really, really confused about why they hated each other so much.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, actually, Chris, because I know there is some story behind the hatred between Kino and Kiyomiya. Now, me and Chris are Noah noobs, especially me. Chris has some sort of limited understanding of the workings of Noah.
I know Noah basically until like Kenta leaves. That's where my knowledge basically ends. And then like, I'd only see Marufuji in New Japan and All Japan after that, really. So
yeah. So
when it comes to the current product, I basically knew Nakajima because he was in G1, Goji Izaki because he's been there for fucking ever, and what's his plus? Marufuji. So that's all I knew.
Fair enough. The idea, I think, is that these two are or were good friends, or those sort of rivals that they've just got to bait the best out of each other. I think that's the sort of idea, and I think that is that is brought out quite well in this match. You've got
They wrestle
Kiyomiya.
like we know each other, and also there was a video package, but I don't think you know how the New Japan, even the New Japan and also the Old Japan video packages sort of transcend the language barrier, and you get what the story is.
Yeah,
you didn't get that on this video package.
No, I think it was very much relying on the fact that
they were talking a lot.
Yeah, Kino won the N1, and Kiyomiya would have to defend his championship because Kino won the N1. There wasn't a lot of time spent on what the backstory was, or there wasn't for someone who's coming new into this show to basically go, oh right, okay, this is the backstory of this match. From my limited understanding, however, Kino was basically trying to hurt Kiyomiya as much as he possibly could. That top rope double stomp to the back of Kiyomiya's head, that first one, good God, that looked absolutely horrendous. Really, really, really savage. My only problem was, Kino especially, there seemed to be, after 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, there seemed to be a lot of repeated spots.
Yeah, they did a lot of apron spots, and there was not much of a sense of build up in this match. It kind of just went, right, I'm gonna kick the fuck up, kill you for 20 minutes. Yeah, cool. For example, a tiger suplex on the apron in any other match would be the biggest part of the match.
Yeah, it's all sort of merged into one, really, didn't it? And I spoke about that double stomp. That first one, it was shocking, it was savage, and it worked with what Kino was trying to do in this match. However, he then did two more later on in the match, and it was like, well, you've already done that, and they weren't as good as the first one. However, that being said, the closing stretch of this match was absolutely fantastic. Really, really good.
A possible controversial opinion here.
Go on then, Chris.
I think Kyle Kiyomiya has the best dropkick in the world right now. You say Okada, I'm going to slap you.
I mean, Okada, man. You can't go past Okada.
His dropkicks haven't been all that good for a while now.
I disagree.
I mean, they used to be the best thing about him, but now it's just sort of less good. Remember how Randy Orton used to have the best dropkick in the world, and then he just became less good? It's kind of getting to that stage with. Do you know what had a good dropkick, but it's not pretty?
Who?
Walter.
Walter does not have an impressive dropkick. It's just impressive because he's big.
No, exactly. So he doesn't. It isn't even an exact dropkick. It's let me put it this way: if Okada or Kiyomiya's dropkick is a sniper rifle, Walter's is a shotgun. It's probably more likely to hit you just because it has such a wide range.
This match,
Balor has good dropkicks.
He does. This match, yes, Kiyomiya is good. He's got good dropkicks. Yes, I agree with that. This match, though, and I'm going to go into my bit about Kiyomiya now, because I know that you have a big thing for Kiyomiya. You like Kiyomiya. You see him as a good champion.
Kiyomiya's in one of my best matches this year against Go Shiozaki.
This, for me, it felt like a very, very, I don't want to say lifeless. It felt very formulaic in quite a few ways.
It feels like something you'd seen in the middle of a junior league. It
was nothing special, Chris, and that's the thing.
It's great, but not special. It's in terms of this is in a quality radius, not in terms of what the match is. If I was to compare it in just sheer quality of wrestling, it would be the Naito white match from Destruction.
Yeah, maybe. There was never that moment. You had all these outstanding spots on the apron. You had the apron, the spike DDT on the apron. You had the apron suplex, the full Nelson, on the apron. You had the pendulum spot. You had the double stomps to the back of the head. Yeah, it all seemed to be moves for move's sake. There didn't seem to be a cohesion to, or a story behind all the moves. It was a good match, and there was some great bits. It felt like it could have been a lot more. And that's not just Kino, it's Kaito as well. I think...
No, it's just how these two were structured their match. I agree with that. It's still great, but still, yeah, I agree with you. There was no real sense of pacing. Again, actually, I think a better comparison in terms of that would be like Keith Lee and Dijakovic from TakeOver. Where there was like no real sense of pacing or anything like that, but it was still really good.
Kaito, though he is a very good seller, and you can see him being almost tailor-made for that babyface in Peril, his selling went completely out of the window at the end of the match. Just completely out of the window.
Not even like a fighting spirit way. We'll talk about like fighting spirit later on.
Yeah.
It was just sort of... Yeah, I do agree.
Almost like he completely forgot to say. I mean, at one point, Kino hit him with, I can't remember if it was a knee or if it was some manner of kick, and literally Kiyomiya got straight back up and hit him with a drop kick.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, at least sell it a little bit. You've been dominated for so much of this match. You've been hit on the apron twice. You've been smashed into the guardrail. You've been smashed on the back of the head. All these things, and you're just no selling it at all. And much as that is my issue with Miyahara at times as well, who will just spam the knee strike, at least there's just something about Miyahara in a match. And
Miyahara is like heads and shoulders above everyone else in All Japan, which is a problem in All Japan. Like Noah feels a lot flatter.
There are more people you can see as legitimate champions in Noah. Yeah. I agree. I don't know. Kiyomiya lacks that certain something, and it's hard to put a finger on. When I watch his matches, I'm not captivated. I wasn't captivated during this match. I am with a Miyahara match. I am with an Okada match. I'm not captivated when I see Kiyomiya wrestle. I'm not invested in his matches. I've watched 3 of Kiyomiya matches now, and I've never been fully invested in his matches. And yes, I completely agree with whatever these people are going to say in comments. I agree that is probably because I haven't seen the backstories, or I don't understand the workings of Noah, and I agree with that to a certain extent. That's certainly why. But you can say that about All Japan as well. And Miyahara, I am completely invested in his matches. There is something about it, and I think Kaito lacks that certain something. And he is a young guy. He is ridiculously young. In fact, he is 23 years old, for God's sake. So he's going to grow into that, and I have no doubt that he is going to have a GHC heavyweight title run in later years for the ages. But for me, at the moment, I didn't connect with this match. It was a good match, and I could see that visually. I mean, I gave it 8. But
I gave it 8 too. I gave it 9 initially, but that's mostly because of the hype of how good Noah is.
Yeah. I don't know whether it's because of who he was partnered with. I don't know whether it's because I'm just not... I've got this thing about Kaito. I mean, I watched the Kaito versus Marufuji match, and I felt the same. And I can't remember who the other Kaito match I watched, but it was similar. I've heard good things about the Go Shiozaki match.
I mean, I've raged about it since I saw it.
But, I don't
know. Okay, this leads me on to 2 questions.
Okay,
first of all, what did you think of the rest of his card like? Because I have mixed feelings about the card as a whole.
The rest of the card I thought was decent.
The thing is, because I've not seen a ton of Axis yet. You splurged over Axis going into this card, and then this match, and like I understand it was partly down to their opponents. I forget who they were. They didn't seem to be especially mobile.
Masaki Tamaya and Yoshihiko Inamura.
Yeah, there we go. And like there was a botched Tower Dune spot, which sort of, and everyone seemed to get flustered after that botch, and it kind of had the whole match fall apart. I'm sure there's better matches, because I hear a lot of people raving over Axis. But like I think we mentioned it earlier in the card when the 2 big men just killed each other. That was the biggest surprise all year for me.
That would be Fujita and Taniguchi.
Yeah, what the fuck was... Why? What happened?
It went 7 minutes and 57 seconds, and I've heard loads of people talk about this match, and Fujita is a bastard.
We gave it an 8.
We did. Fujita is a bastard.
Marufuji versus Muta was about as good as you could expect it to be, honestly.
It was. I think the wrong person won, but that's beside the point.
Marufuji's on this strange losing streak right now because he didn't get a single point in BN1.
Really?
Yeah, not 1 point.
That does seem strange.
Seriously. So yeah, this whole card was good TLDR. Also, like, there's a weird question because you say you don't like Kaito as an ace figure. So like when you look at ace figures outside of New Japan, because like of course like Okada is headlining the Tokyo Dome, he's going to seem bigger. But you look at like Kenta Miyahara, you have Harashima in DDT, you have Kaito here in Noah. Hell, you could even go like out a bit further field, like with Stardom, you have like Mayu, or like some say Momo, but I see Mayu more as an ace figure, or Satomura in Sendai Girls, or Sakazaki in TJPW. Like, what do you think is missing from Kaito, let's say a Miyahara or a Mayu? Or because like honestly, like if we go on a random tangent, what I think a good ace should have is if an outsider comes in, you should automatically side with your ace. Like for example, someone from Marvelous came in for I've forgotten the name, which is bad because I gave that match a really high score, but she came in and faced May, and no matter how impressive I found her, because she like kicks like Arisa and throws bombs like Jungle, so like of course I love her. But fuck it, Ilhara, not Ilha. I can't say it. Ilha. I can't say it. But like, she came in and like, no matter how impressed I was by her, I was rooting for Mayo because that's the ace of my company.
One of my main problems with Kaito is it's all very well and good how you are when you are being dominated. And Kaito is great as being the underdog in a championship.
He's good at being dominated.
He's very good at being dominated.
He's a great sub.
He's really good on the back foot, basically playing second fiddle to the more dominant person. And Kento's the same, Okada's the same. However, you legitimately believe in Miyahara or Okada or even Mayu when they are dominant and in charge. You believe that they are going to win the match. You believe that they are going to pull something spectacular out of the bag. With Kaito, I don't get that.
Well, you say that. Like, I know I sort of forced this Mayu comparison in there, but like both ones we've done for Stardom Castle, like Kagetsu and Momo, she was on the back foot until like the last 5 minutes.
Not true. That's one against Momo. She wasn't at all. In fact, Momo, she dominated. Okay,
Momo's a bad example. I'm thinking more of the match with Ahura from Oraha. I can't say it properly, from the last one, which you need to see already because I want to talk to someone about.
And that's fair enough. But you look at that. That's 2 matches we've reviewed of Mayu, and she has had 2 different matches. She's been dominated and she has been the dominator. Stop laughing. I just feel that Kiyomiya matches and Kiyomiya in general is a little bit copy and paste.
Okay, well, I will say the Goji Ozaki match is different from this one.
And I will go out and check that out. I don't want to not like Kaito. I'm nowhere near invested in him as a character. I'm nowhere near as invested in him as I am in Miyahara, and I've seen the same amount of Miyahara matches that I've seen as... Oh, no, actually, that's a lie. I've seen far more Kenta matches, but that's beside the point. I don't buy him as a legitimate top-of-the-card champion, and I think that's probably what it is.
I think the problem is Noah sort of had to force an ace into it, because like Marufuji can't be ace forever. And like, he can't book himself as ace now because he's president of the company. That's not good luck.
Didn't stop Jeff Jarrett.
Didn't stop Cody. Actually, it's quite funny because when in terms of like booking yourself at the top of the company, there's 2 ways to do it. You have Triple H, where you just make yourself the smartest, or you have the Antonio Inoki / Jeff Jarrett / Hogan. Actually, no, it is. It's like Antonio Inoki did it to Hogan, but Hogan was like, "Fine, I'm going to do it to everyone else." But Hogan did it to Jarrett, and Jarrett is like, "I'm going to do it to everyone else." But like the way Hogan does it goes down.
So basically, what you're saying is that the reason we have Hulkamania was because of Inoki.
No, literally, because
The bastard.
No, Inoki's a right. Like, we'll get into it when we get on to the New Japan match we're doing today. But like, Inoki was fucking crazy.
He was. I think we should probably move on from my hatred of Kaito.
Well, can I just ask you one question about
Go for it.
This? What do you think of Noah's current aesthetic versus his old one?
By the old one, do you mean the green matting?
The emerald look, yeah.
The whole green thing set it apart from every other wrestling company.
Mm-hmm.
But what they've got going on at the moment makes it look like a very clean, very modern promotion. Now, I don't know enough about the history of Pro Wrestling Noah to know about all the historical aspects of, the way they did things before. I don't have
the green was more an homage to like
not Miyahara, Misawa, sorry,
who started it. So,
and I think that's important.
I allegedly they're going to bring it out for like big events, but also this is essentially their Wrestle Kingdom. So,
I don't have strong feelings either way, to be honest. I think if I followed Noah properly, I probably would, but I don't know enough about it.
I didn't like it at first. I don't follow Noah really, but like as someone who like went back and watched all these like legendary matches, like you sort of do grow that attachment. It's sort of like how people want the old SmackDown fist back. When in reality, that's not going to fix WWE's problems, guys.
A good fisting is not going to solve your problems.
No, because I think that's it. When me and Rob complain about stuff in New Japan, we complain about stuff that actually affects the products. When WWE fans are complaining about an awful product, they go, if only they'd bring like custom sets back. And they brought back custom sets. And you know what, Rob? That hasn't helped them at all.
It hasn't, to be fair, no.
Anyway, I was... When you described it as a very clean look, I saw it as quite sterile. It's grown on me. Don't get me wrong. But I think that's because I've seen like enough really good matches in that aesthetic to sort of have a different kind of attachment to it now. It still feels like Noah, don't get me wrong. But I don't know. I think it's just like, you know what it's like? You know when the new IC title was introduced and we didn't know what to think about it because while it's a very pretty belt, it's not what we imagine the IC title to look like.
Yeah, I get that.
It's kind of that. To be fair, I don't like the whole new Japanification of Noah right now.
No, I think it's more a case of companies looking at it and going, well, this clearly works. Let's just make it like this.
Yeah, but like you're taking the superficial aspects and just putting it back into a company that's not been drawing well. So.
Let me tell you that Noah are drawing a lot better than All Japan.
Oh, but they're drawing a lot better now. They weren't. Like last Sumo Hall show, they had to like beg WWE to use Kenta.
Yes, that was Marufuji versus Kenta, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was for Marufuji's. To be fair, that was really good.
It was all right.
So, well, I say really good. At the time, I was just gasping for a good Kenta match.
So let's move on. What would you give this, Chris?
I initially gave it a 9, but again, that was definitely out of excitement for a new product that I care about. So I'd give it an 8.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Let's give it an 8. Moving on then to match 2, let's break up the whole Noah thing and let's start with another New Japan match. So
another G1 match
and it's,
in Sumo Hall.
It's another G1 match in Sumo Hall. We seem to do a lot of G1 matches on this segment, but they are great matches. So, and this is no exception.
Yeah. At some point, I'm gonna have. But problem is, I keep wanting to show Rob like Inokiism New Japan. Because it's awful, and like I want this to be like an overall look at what Japanese wrestling was like, not just like for highlights. Because eventually you run out of highlights. And B, they're not all up in New Japan World. So like if you wanted to watch Brock Lesnar versus Akabono, you'd have to find a low quality rip on YouTube. Yes, that's a thing that happened. And 3, Rob doesn't let me pick the fucking matches. So I keep having to try and trick him into watching shit I want him to watch. And it always backfires.
Well, hopefully you did actually want to watch this match.
Oh, and all the matches I put in are matches like I want to talk about in some respect. But every time I try to steer you towards something, I accidentally put Suzuki in one of the categories.
And you know I'm going to pick a Suzuki match.
Yeah, no, I've just stopped putting them in now. It's that and Stan Hansen. It's just like, no, we need, we're going to run out of Suzuki and Stan Hansen match. Actually, with Suzuki, not so much, because he's like, he's big everywhere he goes. But anyway, so Shinya Hashimoto versus Keiji Muto, G1 finals. And, okay, so long story short, it's much easier to get New Japan history now, because New Japan actually does little video essays. It's actually really good. It's called like The Can Out or something with Kevin Kelly.
Okay.
I'd actually recommend it. They're actually really good. Anyway, so earlier in Fukuoka, I believe, if I'm getting all this right, Hashimoto beat Muto, and then this was Muto getting his own back. But like the Three Musketeers was sort of like what the four pillars are nowadays for sort of like your established main event. If it's a main event, bet one of them are probably in it.
Yeah.
And like to be fair, it's always been the same as the same over in All Japan at the time. But to be fair, from All Japan matches we've seen from a similar time period, this is very, very, very different.
It was. I was really excited to just watch a Hashimoto match because, unfortunately, my one exposure to Hashimoto was Collision in Korea.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, we haven't gone too far back in New Japan on here. Again, Rob ends up picking the matches, don't blame me. But when we've watched Collision in Korea, I was like, please, please, please don't let this colour your view of Hashimoto.
And it didn't, to be fair. Now,
because Scott Norton's in there.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people are divided a little bit on Hashimoto, and
I think the issue is like they watch, like when you go back to like 90s Japanese wrestling, of course the first thing you do is stop off at the All Japan stuff. So when you watch the New Japan stuff, it's a bit of a culture shock because it's a very different style.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you see the size of Hashimoto, I think you expect him to be, a big striker and things like that. Yeah, exactly, a bruiser, a Stan Hansen sort of person, and he's not. You look at the start of this match, and, you've got Muto still very obviously injured from the Flair match before that, and then Norton the day before. You've got Hashimoto literally picking him apart, picking the knee apart, and being very, very clever with the way that he's working the match.
Which is why I kind of scoff when people talk about Jay White not being like good for New Japan, because that's the New Japan house style. Like we deviated away from that because partly because of Kenny Omega, and don't get me wrong, I love those matches. I still really like stuff like this, and I wish there was more stuff like this. It's kind of because like the closest thing I can get to with Hashimoto is like a mix between. It sounds weird given the size of him, a mix between Tiger Mask and Jay White.
Yeah, and when
like original Tiger Mask, because like the kicks he throws, Jesus,
those kicks were horrible. Those kicks were absolutely savage.
Yeah, not just that. Some of them were quite pretty. Like he do a soul butt at one point.
Yes, he did. I really, really enjoyed, and I think this is probably because I enjoy the way Jay White works, and I can't quite believe that we're comparing Hashimoto to Jay White, but that's apparently weird, the route we're going down.
Because like you'd assume he'd work well with Scott Norton because it would be like a big house match. That's just not what New Japan did. New Japan was at this time was like, I don't want to quite say the perfect blend because I wasn't around to watch the product, but a really good blend between like martial arts and wrestling. The breaks in this match, like the periods where like not much was happening, where the selling was happening, that's probably how long you take to recover from one of those kicks.
Muto sold it fantastically, and
Muto's a great seller.
I think Hashimoto they paced this match very, very well, and by that I mean you look at Stan Hansen versus Kobashi, which we've reviewed on this segment. You look at this match, and rather than just going at it like absolute bastards like they did in that All Japan match. Here, they started differently. They started with Hashimoto trying to take apart Muto before eventually you built to that crescendo of the two trying to beat the living shit out of each other to that eventual, that fighting spirit from Muto, who eventually overcomes the odds, even though he misses the first moonsault, and you think, well, fuck, that's it then.
But he almost slips on the second moonsault.
He does.
That's one of the most brutal, because he was pissing with blood at that point, because Hashimoto dropped him on his head.
Yes.
And that split him open. It was disgusting. And then when he went for it and he just missed it, I can't think of a moonsault miss, like a regular non-upper top cage moonsault miss, that hurt that much.
It looked awful.
The closest I can think is Cody at Full Gear, because he was already pissing with blood.
Yeah, okay.
But also, that was not nearly... the AEW match does not seem half as hard as the All Japan match. I wouldn't be surprised if All Japan just used if New Japan rather just used the boxing ring.
Just a concrete floor.
I mean, it is a Noki.
True.
I'll get on to it in a second for circumstances of which both Muta and Hashimoto left the company. It's crazy, believe me. But yeah, it's what... When people complain about there being too much, this match proves that you can have a brutal crescendo match under half an hour.
Again, you're absolutely right. It went, well, how long did it go? Let's have a look. It went... No,
Strong Style used to literally be short, not short, but not long. King's Road was the long one. All Japan were the ones renowned for long main events.
24 minutes and 8 seconds it went.
It flew by.
It built so well. I mean, from everything from, like I say, you had 3 very distinct sections, and it was perfect. They melded together to create a really, really good, enjoyable, engaging matchup. From the moment that Muto begins bleeding to that random Frankensteiner, which was great, to Hashimoto delivering brutal badass kicks, to the moment that Muto wins with that moonsault. It's paced very, very well, and it doesn't overstay its welcome, whether that's because Hashimoto cannot go that long, or whether it's because that's what they were thinking about.
I think you're being unfair saying that, because Hashimoto didn't seem but he seemed about as gassed as Muto by the end.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, don't get me wrong, Muto had to sell a lot and had taken a lot, but that's beside the point. It was a very, very good match, and a match I thoroughly enjoyed.
Well, I want to say when the brief moments where they were delivering bombs, it wasn't bomb after bomb after bomb. They'd be fighting to get the bomb off.
Yeah, at no point did we get to the ridiculous forearm exchanges that we are so accustomed to now.
No, I'm don't get me wrong, I like that, but shit like this is why I like Jay White. Jay White is literally Strong Style incarnate. I get people don't like him, but people don't like him because he's not Kenny Omega and they're fucking stupid.
I mean, there is each to their own, and there are people that don't like Jay White, but there's also people that don't like Hashimoto for that exact reason. He was a slower paced wrestler.
Yeah, but that was just, to be fair, that was just New Japan at the time. Chono was the exact same. Well, not the exact same, but he was slower. But that's partly because of a neck injury, to be fair, but still.
I was just going to say, was that because of his working style or because of the injury?
Yeah, he really changed after the injury. But to be fair, I don't know, I do like this, though. I'm not sure I'd want a whole card around it, but with Jay White having been the sole proprietor of this kind of thing, I'm dead into it. Yeah,
and I really, really enjoyed this foray into the backstory of Hashimoto. Now, moving beyond this, Chris, the future of Hashimoto and Muto. Would you like to explain?
All right, so in the case of Muto, Muto's very easy to explain. He basically got alienated by Inokiism, left, joined All Japan, kind of helped get that afloat again, and then fucked it.
Yep, I'd heard that.
Yeah, he went off to make Wrestle One. All Japan just couldn't catch a break, could they?
The amount of exoduses was ridiculous.
They've had the one to create WAR. for one to create Noah. And to be fair, the WAR one wasn't bad because they still had Jumbo Tsuruta, and they had and they had enough young talent that they could push them into that spot. It's basically like when Nakamura and AJ exodus from New Japan. But then the Noah one, out of all the contracted people from All Japan who jumped to Noah, how many stayed?
There was one Japanese talent that stayed.
Actually, there was two.
Oh, Kawada was one, yeah.
Yeah, no, Kawada took a while to come over. Basically, when All Japan stopped drawing. And then, Kawada was in New Japan for a while. It's weird. And then, Stan Hansen stayed because he was extremely loyal to Baba. Which, to be fair, I do kind of like how apparently backstage Dan Hansen is a bit of a sweetheart.
Well, he doesn't look like that in the ring. Fucking hell.
No, he doesn't. Actually, you know what's weird? Dan Severn looks less scary than Hansen, but is much more scary. I mean, he looks like, what's his thing? Monica's boyfriend from Friends, Richard. He looks like Richard from Friends.
He does a little bit. He does.
Yeah. And have you heard the story of so Dan Severn, they were going to have him join the ministry and have 666 over his head. Now Dan Severn is someone who did wrestling because he liked it. He did not care that much about earning money because he got that from shoot fighting. So but he was they were like, okay, we're gonna put 667, and he's from a small Christian town. He's like, I can't go back to my town like that. I'm not doing it. And then Vince apparently tried to pull well, if you don't do what I say, we can make things very difficult for you. And he was like, what do you mean by that? He was like, well, we can make you lose a lot of matches. And apparently Dan just turned to Vince and said, well, you can ask me to lose a match.
Legend.
There was an alternate timeline where that happened, the day of Royal Rumble, and he just shot won a Royal Rumble.
Shot won the title at WrestleMania. What is happening?
And Jim Cornette's probably going, oh, this is the best thing ever. But yeah. So I've told you the story before. The way Hashimoto left was a bit more weird. So Hashimoto was always going to leave New Japan for a wee bit. He was going to create 0-1, and it was going to be basically a way for Hashimoto to get some time, because he's been on top for a long time. This was 2000 something, and they were like, okay, you're going to take time away, and you can do this for a while. You'll still be making a decent amount of money when you come back, and when we can bring you back fresh faced, basically. Good idea. How can I miss you if you never go away? So how Antonio Inoki is crazy.
I've heard rumors.
Yeah. So I forget his name, but so Hashimoto was having this trilogy with this judoka. No, that's the name of it. What's the name of a judoka? Because judoka is a girl. What's the name of a dude judo person?
I have no idea.
I'm just gonna say a judo guy. He had this feud going on with a judo guy, and the rubber match was going to be the main event of the Tokyo Dome show.
What?
Yeah, so Antonio Inoki told the judo guy to shoot on Hashimoto.
What?
But never told Hashimoto that's what was going to happen.
What?
Yeah. So it led in I think it was McGregor Khabib, when that basically that happened in what was meant to be it was meant to be a work match.
Oh my god.
And so Hashimoto was like, well, I'm still going to go make 0-1, but I'm not fucking coming back.
That's horrendous.
To be fair, it's not the to be fair, New Japan had to do something bad with Hashimoto after. So when Hashimoto died, right?
Yes.
New Japan retired the old IWGP one, the one that looks like a crown. They retired that out of respect for Hashimoto. When whoever won it, they put it in front of a picture of Hashimoto, and because he's basically the most respected New Japan guy from the 90s, in Japan, from what I understand. And went to the back, and then a design more reminiscent of what we know as the IWGP title was debuted. Brock Lesnar won that title, and Ben took it home. He was never contracted to New Japan. and didn't give the title back, so we had to bring back the old title that we retired in commemoration of a dead guy because Brock Lesnar refused to give him back their title.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and then we had to do this whole convoluted thing because then Inoki made his own federation, the Inoki Genome Federation, and that's still going and is apparently awful because Inokiism is not good. And we then had to bring in Kurt Angle to beat Brock Lesnar, and then Kurt Angle stole that belt off of Inoki Genome Federation and got it back into New Japan.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Talk about fucking convoluted.
Can you kind of see how like New Japan kind of might not be doing well around about 5 years after this?
Just absolutely ridiculous. So, who won the shoot match between the Judo Man and Shinya Hashimoto?
It kind of just got thrown out.
Did it? I'm going to have to watch this now.
I don't think it's on World, is the thing.
Believe it or not. Really?
Yeah, like a lot of that time period is on World. Actually, there's a decent documentary on it that I'll throw because it was a wee documentary, like fan-made documentary, but it's really well put together about Brock Lesnar's run, and it starts with this as a context to what New Japan was like at the time.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so like, and I really, really, really want to show you like that period of New Japan because it is like you have Bob Sapp winning the title. One title match, like remember this way, non-title matches what Lesnar had, Nakanishi, Nagata, these aces of the company. Actual title matches Lesnar had, Akibono, and who was the Giant Bernard, who hated Lesnar.
Fucking hell.
Has this fried your brain?
I need to stop talking about New Japan right now.
Yeah, like again, you can see how like there was a time where we couldn't even get 10,000 paying people into the Tokyo Dome.
Right, let's move on then. Our third and final match, away from the absolute lunacy that is New Japan in the noughties and mid and late 90s. It is from 2004, from the 25th of April 2004, the match between Kenta Kobashi and Yoshihiro Takayama. It is from the Noah Encountering Navigation 2004 Night 14 show, and it was, of course, for the GHC Heavyweight Championship. Takayama had already held this championship in 2002. He is one of only two people to hold both that, the Triple Crown, and then the IWGP Heavyweight Championship as well. Chris, can you tell me who the other one is?
Kensuke Sasaki.
You've got it up, haven't you?
No, I just know it.
Oh,
like,
okay.
There's only two people. It's not like it's a fact where you need to be told once, and then you it's only two names.
Yeah. Also, apparently Takayama, a very, very established MMA fighter.
Well, not quite. So he's had fights. That was kind of because of Inokiism. Like Inoki would make his wrestlers do MMA fights. It's why so many it's why people like Nagata and Liger have MMA records, because literally Inoki would push them into it. And also if they were champion and lost the MMA fight, they'd be stripped of their title.
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's why Takayama had a record. Now he's never had a non-contested win. But he's a legendary in MMA because of his match with Don Fry.
Yes.
Where they just kept punching each other.
Well, I mean, his mixed martial arts record, he's had a total of 5 bouts with 1 win by knockout and then 4 losses. 2 by submission and 2 by knockout. So when I say established, I mean that he's had proper fights. Yes, he has.
The reason Nakamura got pushed so early was because he had a winning MMA record.
So this match then, Chris. For a start, at the time of this match, Takayama was an IWGP Tag Team Champion alongside Minoru Suzuki, so he has made his way onto the classic match review, even if we're not reviewing his match.
I was like, fuck, we can't escape him, can we? Yeah, because for a while, Noah and New Japan had a kind of working relationship, because basically Masawa turned up for one match with Chono between, and the connection was made, because at the oh fuck, what's it called? I think it's called the Grand Voyage, the Tokyo Dome show.
Great Voyage.
Great Voyage, there we go. But they're all called Voyage. It's very around this time. It's very hard to fucking remember. Tanahashi was going for the GHC title, so.
Right. Okay.
And
okay.
Lig is a former GHC junior champion as well.
Yeah. This match then. They were building Takayama as basically the biggest threat to Kobashi's championship that he'd had in what would be ultimately a ridiculously long reign. Did you say 2 years?
It was either close to or just over 2 years. Yeah.
It was the GHC heavyweight title reign. Really.
Do you know who beat him?
I was just going to tell you that, and now I can't remember. Was it Misawa?
No, it wasn't Misawa. That's who Kobashi beat.
Right.
I think I'm scared I'm going to get it wrong now. I think it was no, it was either Akira. I'm going to double check this now because I have forgotten.
Akira Tozawa?
Not Akira Taue.
Oh, I thought you said Tozawa. I was like, are you being serious?
No, hang on. GHC World Heavyweight Championship reigns.
I'm also looking at this now.
GHC Heavyweight Championship, because there kind of been a ton of reigns before.
Takeshi Rikio.
There we go. Oh, fucking I thought it was before. I thought Rikio was like. I thought Taue beat Kobashi and then it was Rikio. Rikio had an awful reign.
Well, I mean, you're following a 2-year reign from one of the legends of Puroresu. I mean,
also, it was just over 2 years, by the way. He won it in March 2003 off of Misawa. And then Rikio beat him on March 5th, 2005. Thing is with Rikio, he was a judo guy that they pushed too soon.
Was it the judo guy that Shoot tried to wrestle it? Hashimoto?
No, that's someone different. No, it was a sumo guy, not a judo guy. I'm getting mixed up. And then, because then Taue beat Rikio, and then Akiyama beat Taue, and then basically, between Kobashi and Misawa, Taue, Akiyama, and Marufuji had failed runs, but weren't drawing, so Misawa then had to take it for 448 days.
That's awful.
Because literally no one else, it wasn't through not trying, just no one, because it was a mix of they didn't get good TV time, so the only audiences it was going in front of was live audiences.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to build up new stars. It took ages for Marufuji to take and stuff like that. So, and the only other options really were Kensuke Sasaki and Minoru Suzuki, both of which were freelancers, so both of which had a chance of just taking off. I remember around 2006? Around 2006. I think that's around the time the problems with Lesnar was happening. so they were we're not fucking risking this.
Lesnar just fucks everything up. I love it. It's amazing.
You think Lesnar's negligent nowadays? It's fucking New Japan run. Jesus Christ. Anyway, this match.
This match was great. This match I thoroughly enjoyed. I was into it from bell one to the end. It was great. The only thing I was surprised was that Kobashi dominated the opening exchanges. Yeah. Which surprised me because I expected Takayama to come out like an absolute house on fire and just absolutely beat the shit out of Kobashi.
Thing is with Takayama, he is definitely... Have you ever seen that episode of The Simpsons? This is going to sound weird, go with me. Where Homer becomes a boxer?
Yes.
And then he becomes a good boxer because he takes 1,000,000 hits and then the opponent gets tired and he just nudges them down?
Yes.
That's kind of what Takayama's like.
Is he the boxer or the boxy?
He's the guy who'll take an abnormal amount of punishment and then when you're tired start beating the shit out of you.
Right, okay. So, yeah, that surprised me a little bit, but then obviously once he took charge, it was a masterclass in basically targeting a limb, absolutely dominating the arm. It was uncomfortable to watch at times.
Yeah, especially given the size of him. It's kind of interesting to see how Noah is sort of headlined by a lot smaller guys. So you have Go Shiozaki is fairly big there. Because you have Kano, Kaito, Marufuji, all of these were juniors. And to be fair, I'm not surprised that's the way they went, considering Kenta became one of their big stars. But Yeah.
Yeah, it was the way to go, definitely, in the climate that they started to push all of them. But in this match, it takes a lot to make Kobashi, who at this point was enormous, like muscly, not fat.
Like, he was fucking Stan Hansen size, yeah.
Exactly. And to make him look small and to make him look like the underdog, I mean, I know a lot of his championship defenses, he was the underdog in some way. This, however, it was so well done that Takayama just looked far, far bigger than him, far more superior than him. And even though there was nothing outright, amazing from this match, no massive, massive spot, aside from perhaps, the suplex from off the apron onto the floor, which was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and also, like, Kobashi's moonsault, which, like, makes sense when you're seeing him, like, in All Japan, but here it's like, how the fuck is he doing that?
I mean, can we just talk about that moonsault for a second? Because he landed all kinds of onto Takayama's face.
Here's the thing, though. Takayama strikes me as a man who is very attractive before the first time he got punched.
Yeah, he's very unlucky. And that's an understatement. I mean, obviously, he had a stroke later that same year, 2004.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now it was a normal bat bump. He paralyzed himself on a DDT show.
Just landing straight on his head, paralysed from the neck downwards, which is just awful for the poor bloke.
And, like, I'm going to say, there's a Takayamania fund, if you want to kick towards that, because it's very rare, like, as fans outside of Japan, we get to, like, directly support someone. Like, if you want to do that, I highly recommend it. Or Fire Pro Wrestling, I think it's only on Steam, I'm not sure if it's on the PS4 version, has Takayama DLC, but like £2 each. One of them gets you for £2 gets you a Takayama wrestler model, and with all the logic of the moveset perfectly tuned, with one move which is like the Fry Takayama punch, and then like the other one for £2 gets you like a ring and some logos and stuff like that. And like honestly, the DLC there isn't like the main part. The main part is like being able to kick a small amount towards Takayama, and it's basically because let's be honest, if you were gonna donate, you probably wouldn't be donating more than like £4. So like it's basically to incentivize people to do it, because all the proceeds from that, because it basically costs them nothing to do it. So all the proceeds from that go into Takayama. So yeah, if you have Fire Pro, you should definitely do that. It's a shame because like Takayama, like I was gonna bring up before this sad bit happened. I was gonna do this right at the end. He moved, like I understand, like he's in a world of hatters when it comes to this, but he moves and acts so different from everyone else.
He was a very, very different type of big man than, say, Hansen or Misawa. Or even Kobashi. Or Gordy, absolutely.
Or but anyone, I can't think of a direct comparison in my head right now. It looked, and this is going to sound really weird now, his offense looked sloppy. Walter, that's a good, I think that's a good one, where like, he's doing very basic moves very sloppily, but they work.
It looks like it would hurt. Now, I'm aware that he wasn't doing things sloppily, but he was doing things in a brutal way.
Very realistic way. You know, it's like the New Japan match from before where they're doing simple moves very realistically.
And I will just point out a big thing in this match, even though Takayama's big guy, devastating brutality worked very well, a big thing in this match was Kobashi selling. Now, I'm not out of line saying that Kobashi is probably the best seller in wrestling.
Yeah, the fact that he could survive a losing streak when he first started getting pushed in All Japan sort of tells you all you need to know about selling. Only people who can sell really well can get away with a losing streak.
I mean, his babyface performance in this match alone is outstanding. But then, when you put it together with matches in other companies that we've seen, I mean, this isn't the first time we've reviewed Kobashi, and I doubt it'll be the last. But the man's selling, the man's timing, the there are many times that he could have just hulked up and stopped the match, winning the match. But instead, not only did he build a legitimate contender in Takayama, he also put that match just long. It was 20-odd minutes. He built it just long enough so that when he hit that moonsault, that horrible moonsault onto Takayama's face, that it meant so much more. He had such an in-ring awareness. It was fantastic. Really was.
What I also love is that Kobashi, it's sort of like where people praise Walter nowadays, but like back then in like Noah and all that, it was just standard where he has so many moves that he can beat people with. Like he has this Brain Buster, the Orange Crush, and like of course the Burning Hammer. The Burning Hammer was such a protected move. But when he went for it, when he teased possibly doing it, the crowd popped.
Do you know what as well? That really impressed me, that he knew that because of the beating that he'd taken at the hands of Takayama, he couldn't then perform the Burning Hammer because his back had gone, his legs had gone, his entire upper body was just shot.
It also showed his desperation, because he only pulled out the Burning Hammer 7 times in his whole career.
Yeah, exactly. But this is a fucking difficult challenge. I need to do something extraordinary. I need to go up for the Burning Hammer. And this is where so many matches now need to learn. They need to learn that, you know what, Miyahara, your back is fucked. So therefore you can't do the shutdown suplex. Whatever it's called.
That's my main problem with Miyahara Yuma match from the other week, is that he should have won with something that wasn't the shutdown suplex, because realistically you can't get him up with how fucked your arm's been.
Exactly, and that even that Kato match today.
No, exactly. Because the amount you've been through, you shouldn't be fucking walking, mate.
Exactly, and yes, I understand that you've got to suspend your disbelief. I absolutely understand that.
That's the style we've moved into, but in the case of Kento, he's doing stuff like this where it's all very simple and it's all about how you do it.
Yeah.
I understand with Kaito it's a different thing. Kaito's a lot more flashy, but I think Kento Miyahara is a closer comparison here, and he's not. That's the problem. People looked at the King's Road style, and the superficial elements got lifted. So the near falls got lifted, because here's the thing. There wasn't many near falls in this match, but you're still in suspense the whole time. So near falls got lifted, finisher kickouts, again, near falls got lifted, and a lot of the moves got lifted. I understand people talk about how watered down the super kick of the DDT is. I think the treatment people give the Burning Hammer nowadays is even worse.
Yeah, and I think obviously the more wrestling we're exposed to, the more that's going to happen to me as well. I mean, Garth brings it up all the time, the DDT.
Yeah, no, exactly. Now someone has a DDT, it's well, that's a fucking weak finish. But I don't know, the DDT got brought out every match, so I think the watering down was almost
inevitable.
Yeah, but in the case of Kobashi, did it 7 times in his whole career, and then when Elgin did it, but when Elgin did it in New Japan, it would be against someone much higher in the totem pole than him, and it would win him the match. Now you have Trent Seven pulling out every week on NXT UK. You have you just have so many people doing Burning Hammers. You had Tyler X doing a bit what they called a Burning Hammer, and it just wasn't. And and I'm not being funny. I understand the people get mad about the DDT and all that. In terms of watering down, nothing's been fucked more than the Burning Hammer. But they're not being funny. A DDT happened every match, or the super kick from Shawn Michaels that didn't always finish a match. Burning Hammer happened 7 times in 15 years, and never got kicked out of.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of other examples. But I agree.
The suplex used to be an exotic move. It's just how wrestling goes. But it's again. The most superficial elements of King's Road got lifted and put into other styles, which again is fine, but also no consideration of how it worked. You know what I mean? It's like when people try to steal a joke from a stand-up comedian and not understand the delivery is a lot of the reason why that joke worked. Like, for example, if I try to tell you, say, a Frankie Boyle joke, it's not going to be funny because his way of delivery is very different from mine. Like, the only match I can think that sort of pays homage to the King's Road style, but doesn't just take the superficial elements, like remove, like the near fall, is in the last while outside of Japan is Walter versus Bate, because they actually took like the escalation from the King's Road style, which we were just talking about, but like escalated it even more.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So we didn't give a rating for the Hashimoto match, Chris.
I'm going to give a rating. I'm not sure you're going to agree with me.
Are you going to give it 9?
I'm giving it a 10.
The Hashimoto match?
Yeah.
Wow, we're miles apart. I give it an 8.
Me in the middle?
Yeah, me in the middle, 9. This match, I don't know.
King's Road matches are so hard because you're so scared for everyone's health while they're happening.
It's almost a 9+, this match.
I see what you mean. Like, problem was like standout spots, I guess, but also like this isn't a match that needed standout spots. Honestly, if we're going 9+, I wouldn't be averse to calling it a 10 because I have no issues.
No, and it was a really, really good match.
Yeah, like there was no. Yeah, I honestly fine giving it, especially because like, a match is great when you spend a long time gushing over a small detail. We just spent 15 minutes gushing about how about a small point in this match where Kobashi teased a move.
Yeah, no, fair enough. We'll give it 10 then. We'll give it 10. Who gives a shit if we're called Smarks? Am I right?
Well, like every time I talk about Stardom, Gaff bullies me. So.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen,
bullied me about Stardom outside of our chat, and like having a perfectly, an absolutely perfectly lovely conversation with some random person about a Stardom match, and he just turns up. I'm like, please, Gaff, let me enjoy my things.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. We've given you our views on these 3 matches. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Please let us know in the comment section below or wherever you get your podcasts. Whatever, talk to us on Twitter at PodMania or at Young Lioncast even. I apologise. At PodMania is the network. Do it to ours at Young Lioncast. You can talk to us on Facebook at Young Lioncast, same one. Our podcast is everywhere. Please go, subscribe to it, talk to us. Go to www.podmania.co.uk to get to the archives of all our podcasts and check out our match ratings as well. You can talk to me on Twitter at RealRobGoodwin. Where can they talk to you, Chris?
PodMania. I'm not repeating, you got the joke last time. You don't need the joke in this one.
Yeah, and that's if you found it funny the last time, because there's a high probability that you didn't.
To be honest, yeah, I think the joke's ran its course, but also I don't use my Twitter enough to change its handle.
Maybe you should change it to the Chris Corner.
I assure you that's taken.
We'll find a way. We'll find a way of it not being taken so that Chris can change his Twitter handle and might actually start using it again, ladies and gentlemen. Wouldn't that be something?
I don't use it because, like, I could either... Because the only thing I care to tweet about is like wrestling. When it comes to something like music or something, that's more of a personal thing, and I talk to people. So like, why would I tweet about wrestling on the account with like 20 followers instead of the tweeting about wrestling on the account with 1,000 followers, that someone might listen? And like, we listen to this podcast for our opinions, so like, it would naturally follow on.
And on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, on that bombshell,
my opinion. So like, he gets annoyed whenever I post. I posted my problems with Takeover, and he was like, actually, no. I once replied to a Jim Cornette tweet a few weeks ago and went, and basically said, respect other people's opinions, Jim. And Garth was like, you should keep your hot takes off of Twitter, off of our Twitter. I'm like, it's not a fucking hot take to say respect other people's opinions, Garth.
I agree with Garth.
But it's not a hot take.
We'll talk to you guys later.